Disney just released a new adventure animation, and like every other movie, it is full of Easter eggs. Have you noticed them yet? If not, wonder no more, because for today's video, we'll be listing the Easter eggs and references you missed in Disney's Strange World. So make sure you tune in if you don't want to miss out. Starting today's video, we have the beginning sequence wherein the styles are derived from the 1940s and 1950s movies. The events of Strange World's opening sequence expose viewers to the exploits of Jaeger Clade and his son Searcher. The visual aesthetic, complete with film grain, evokes classic black and white films. This section features an old-timey voice presenting the introductory exposition in a manner reminiscent of the adventures from a time when Disney was still a relative unknown. This tribute to vintage movies is more than just a nod to such films. It also refers to a certain era of cinema. The directors intended to honor their favorite action and science fiction films from the 1940s and 1950s. According to Roy Conley, producer of Strange World, there are lots of great black and white adventure films from the early 1950s that even ventured into science fiction territory too. Conley also cited 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea from 1954 and 1933's King Kong as additional direct influences on how we shape the world. And speaking of classics, the plot of New Adventure draws similarities from the renowned literary figures Jules Verne. It is impossible to read or watch a review of Strange World without coming across mention of the film's greatest inspiration, science fiction writer Jules Verne. The influential Journey to the Center of the Earth is perhaps the biggest influence on Strange World, as it is the Verne novel whose plot Strange World most closely resembles. The French novelist wrote some of the most well-known adventure stories of the 19th century, including 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Journey to the Center of the Earth. Conley even acknowledges in the Tech Radar interview that Jules Verne was the main impact. Both Strange Planet and Journey to the Center of the Earth feature an expedition by a party of explorers who end up in an uncharted world underneath their own. Both stories transport the characters through a landscape filled with strange and enigmatic creatures before shooting them out the other side, while Strange World has a far more overtly ecological bent to its story. Dinosaurs exist in Verne's reality. However, the Strange World creatures are considerably more ethereal. Despite this variation, the perils of the natural world itself pose a much greater threat in both works than the inhabitants do. And have you noticed the movie started and ended in the same way, by referencing pulp magazines? Pulp fiction is another significant literary and cinematic influence, in addition to the many others we've discussed in Strange World. No, not the Quentin Tarantino film, but rather the original stories that served as its primary inspiration. Pulp fiction magazines were a very well-liked, kind of cheap entertainment in the earliest 20th century, peaking in the 1950s. Pulp magazines, which were once printed on dirt-cheap wood pulp paper at the turn of the century, were inexpensive and frequently of variable quality. The movie Strange World was greatly influenced by pulp characters like Doc Savage, to the point where the entire plot is contained within a single magazine. We see a pulp comic with Searcher and the Clades on the cover in the first few seconds of the movie. The black and white sequence from earlier appears next as the magazine opens. However, the tribute doesn't stop there. The magazine closes in the film's last seconds, giving the entire narrative the feel of a pulp adventure. This next Easter egg is quite ironic and deals with Searcher's name, in particular, literally speaking. The Clade family's unusual names are on feature of the characters in Strange World that quickly sticks out. Ethan is the only member of his family whose name is not a meta-commentary on their function in the narrative, even though his family consists of Jaeger, Searcher, and Meridian. The names of the other 3 are all designations used by explorers. Geographically speaking, the name Meridian refers to a line of longitude. Since she centers Searcher, it is most famously the center of Prime Meridian. Another word for a hunter or someone wearing hunter-style clothing is Jaeger, which fits the character's demeanor and appearance. The lone Clade family member that doesn't live up to his name is Searcher. The name Searcher is odd given how much he detests exploration. The irony that a man with the last name of Searcher would prefer to stay on his farm rather than perform any sort of searching is simply not a joke. It is a fundamental aspect of his personality. The fact that Searcher fell short of the destiny his father had planned for him and his name haunts him. Another layer of irony is shown when Searcher's relationship with his own kid is directly impacted by his contempt for Jaeger. In this way, Searcher is acting precisely as his father did. Ethan is being pushed away and onto a very different path by Searcher's unintentional pressure to become exactly like him as he grows up. Next, did you also notice the Star Wars reference? You'd have to be fast since it's from a blink and you'll miss its moment. You must admit that since Strange World is influenced by old-school science fiction and adventure tales, you probably predicted this outcome. At this point, references to Star Wars can be found pretty much everywhere in sci-fi, not just in Disney's production. The reference to the legendary franchise and its filmmaking style can be traced to the fact that Strange World is referencing the same vintage adventure serials that inspired the adventures of Luke Skywalker. Star Wars is cinema's defining sci-fi adventure, blending fantasy and sci-fi genres in a way that clearly served as inspiration for Strange World. However, if you blink, you might miss the reference to the iconic franchise and its filmmaking style. In the shape of a scene change, the Strange World creators have tucked away a fairly minor Easter egg. During one scene transition in Strange World, a wipe effect that resembles Star Wars in some ways feels like a little tribute to the Star Wars mythology. The Star Wars wipe George Lucas overused in A New Hope has been replicated in various Lucas films, and even computer game creators have come up with creative ways to employ it. As much as Jedi and droids, the wipe transition may be considered a part of the Star Wars DNA. And what Disney movie would it be if it didn't draw inspiration from its fellow Disney films? If you've noticed, the aliens in Strange World look similar to the magic carpet in Aladdin. The creators of Strange World weren't hesitant to create some bizarre males for the monsters. In fact, the majority of the creatures lacked facial features, which, according to Hall, was a decision inspired by an earlier Disney film. Hall explained how the 1992 animated masterpiece Aladdin inspired the Strange World designs in an exclusive interview with Looper. "I love the idea of the carpet in Aladdin, forcing the animators to communicate and give a personality to something that has no unique traits." Hall said many creatures, such as the filterlopes, are faceless. The alien nature that gives the residents of the odd world the appearance of being distinct and enigmatic to audiences of all ages was communicated to audience through its unconventional thinking. Next, did you know that Legend's name is a nod to a certain longtime animator? One veteran animator at Disney Animation Studios insisted there be a dog in the movie while Strange World co-director Don Hall was working on it. Bernie Maddinson was the man who ultimately persuaded Hall to incorporate the dog. Maddinson, who has worked for Disney since 1953, allegedly wouldn't let the problem go and quickly won over the entire office to his plan. Hall remarked, "He kept telling me the movie required a dog. Strange World is about family, and dogs just scream family." Initially, Hall was hesitant because the movie's adorable pet character was already played by the gelatinous Blue Splat, who Alan Tudyk voices. Maddinson and his associates eventually persuaded the director, and Legend was created. The term Legend is derived from Hall's pet name for Maddinson, a Disney legend since 2008. Only a small number of artists and entertainers from across the corporation receive this prestigious title each year. And the last one for today's video, did you also notice how Searcher's attire is reminiscent of a traditional explorer's garment? Searcher is dressed in a long-sleeved white shirt under a short light green top. The browns on his belt and collar stand out against his green and white attire. The similarities in color and style are striking, especially with the version of Link from Ocarina of Time. Okay, so now look at the iconic design of Link from The Legends of Zelda. The brown that descends from Searcher's collar is reminiscent of Link's sword sheath, but the green and white feel like a direct reference to the Hero of Time's classic tunic. And that wraps up today's episode about Easter eggs you missed in Strange World. Do you know of any other references that should be included in today's video? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching today's video. And before you go, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on for more videos like these. See you next time.